now be recorded.
I listened to it on the Rice Lake channel. Oh, did you? Thank you, sir. Is this,
Oh, we're just going to, actually, first thing on the agenda. Wonder where? First thing on the agenda. Let's call the meeting in order, please. Want to take the roll?
Mayor Zakowski.
Here.
Alderman Kittle.
Here.
Alderman Breeze.
here.
Alderman Weinmeier.
Here.
Alderman Gartner.
Here.
Alderman Volkert.
Here.
Alderman Montello.
Here. Pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Any public comments?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Oh, it's a good plan. Motion to adopt the agenda. Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. Now public comments, none.
Yeah, there's still none. Sorry.
The agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda, except for 6B. I'd like to move that to the regular agenda, please.
Okay.
Christie.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved.
Thank you.
6B is in boy.
I think you can keep going. You can, no, but you can keep going to,
Yeah, we're going to go to special recognition. Citizen recognition for Reverend Kevin Morris.
I'm sorry, before Chief starts, did we have a second on that consent agenda? I had a first from Pete.
Mike did the second.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Hang on to it.
Yeah.
You look like Monty Hall.
You are Monty Hall.
Let's make a deal. So good evening, Mayor and Council and those in attendance tonight. Thanks for allowing us to recognize a very special person tonight. You know, sometimes in our lives, people come along that have an immediate positive effect on us. Chaplain Kevin Morris is one of those people. Well, he has a profound effect on me personally. I think it is the work he does in the field that I respect him most for. Kevin is a soft voice of reason, an encouraging calm, and a supporter of law enforcement. Kevin provides chaplain services to the Richmond Police Department, St. Croix County Sheriff's Department, Wisconsin State Patrol, and perhaps even the FBI, but I cannot confirm nor deny those allegations. Well, I can stand up here and talk about Kevin all night. It's the rest of the folks in this room that he takes under his wing every day and has such a profound effect on. So I think between Jared and Mackenzie, they can speak on his behalf way better than I can. But when they're done, I do have something here for Kevin as well. So I'm going to turn it over to Officer McLean. He's our peer support coordinator for the Richmond Police Department. And Mackenzie Hazen is one of our officers that is kind of the driver behind this recognition.
If you could hold it for him.
You want me to hold it? That's what, servant, watch this, servant leader.
I think that would be worse. I got it. Good evening. My name is Jared McLean. I'm a police officer with the City of New Richmond. I also serve as the New Richmond Police Department Peer Support Coordinator. Peer Support's role within law enforcement is to support officers experiencing a crisis, advocate for mental health awareness, and when needed, facilitate a transition of care for officers that may need additional support. Chaplain Kevin Morris is a part of the St. Croix County Chaplain Program, as well as serving as our peer support team within our peer support team at the New Richmond Police Department. A chaplain's role within law enforcement is extremely valuable, as they often provide us with a resource to give individuals who are experiencing a great loss or crisis. Chaplains are great listeners, taking the burden of listening and helping guide and assist people through some of their toughest moments. Serving as a chaplain within law enforcement, and in particular, a law enforcement peer support team, can be additionally challenging, as we in law enforcement are often quite stubborn and slow to trust somebody that we don't know. Chaplain Morris is an exceptional example of what a valuable resource chaplains can provide to law enforcement. He meets with our officers as they progress through their field training process, visits the police department to check in with everyone at the agency, participates in ride-alongs, and will additionally respond immediately to any requests from our peer support team. His calm demeanor, non-judgmental perspective, valuable insight, and experience often quickly builds rapport with even our most stubborn officers. I have had the opportunity to instruct peer support courses to law enforcement agencies throughout northwestern Wisconsin, and the availability to access quality chaplain services is not always available. Although St. Croix County has a great law enforcement chaplain program, the services Chaplain Morris provides the New Richmond Police Department through his work with our peer support team is a benefit not available to many law enforcement agencies in our area. I'm glad to have the opportunity to continue to work with Chaplain Kevin Morris, and I'm happy to see him receive recognition for the great work he provides to the New Richmond Police Department.
On behalf of the New Richmond Police Department, we've got a few things for you. Mackenzie's got a package of goodies from our staff. But when I explain this to Noah and some of the other staff, we did get you a plaque. And why don't I have you read the plaque, Mackenzie? Because I don't have my...
So this is called the Everyday Hero, presented to Kevin Morris. Thanks for coming to the rescue when our community needed you the most. What you do matters every day, but now more than ever, you are making a difference. Your sacrifice and efforts to help change lives is greatly appreciated. Service to Law Enforcement 2024, City of New Richmond.
And I can honestly stand here and tell you what Kevin does saves lives in our community. So thank you, Kevin.
Just, thanks, Chief, appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. You know, you officers and folks here are an incredibly valuable, and that's an understatement, human resource to our community. Without you, we can't imagine what the city of New Richmond would look like without you and the kind of work that you do. The challenges are never ending. Since retiring from pastoral ministry, I still serve and help out at the church I retired from, but it's been a journey of privilege serving these agencies, especially New Richmond Department. It's been a journey of heartache. When I responded with one of the sheriff's office captains to the death scene of Katie Lysing here a couple of years ago, if that captain had stopped the car, I would have gotten out and walked home. I did not want to be a part of all that. But it's what the good Lord in His providence has given to me, and it's a privilege to serve. I am just profoundly appreciative of the council here, and certainly the New Richmond PD. You guys do. Peer support is incredibly important. It is a matter of health, and it is a matter of life and death. And the healthier we can keep our public servants and our first responders, law enforcement, the healthier our community is, healthier our families are. So thanks for just allowing me to serve. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Pastor, you rock. I said Pastor rocks.
Next item is public hearing.
Mr.
I declare the
Mayor?
public hearing
Mayor?
open.
Mr. Mary? I think we forgot one of the things. I think we need to, oh, I guess those meeting minutes were under consent agenda.
Yep.
My question was going to be why we had 2 months' worth. Had we not approved previous minutes?
I'm assuming we did, and maybe we didn't get.
There was some issues with the upload to iCompass, so I just wanted to make sure everybody had truly seen.
Got it. Thank you.
I thought
So-
you enjoyed reading them so much, you wanted another try.
Okay, the public hearing for the 2025 operating budget and 2025 to 2029 capital improvement plan. The public hearing is now open.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. In your packet are a number of documents. I'm not going to go over all of the 100-plus pages of that tonight, but I do want to highlight many of the discussions that we've had over the course of the last several months related to our budget work sessions and what is encompassed in the 2025 budget for your consideration this evening. So as we start the, Christy, can you go to the slide show, please? Second, the next one. Thank you. So on here, I just wanted to highlight some of the strategic priorities that were established in our conversations with the council as we kicked off the budgeting process. Some of these are very similar to prior years or themes that are similar to prior years where we're continuing to ensure that our services have the resources to provide our core services from public safety to being able to plow streets. Our utility surfaces are in good operable conditions, et cetera. That also ties into our continued investment in infrastructure, and we see that both in the operating budget underneath maintenance items related to street maintenance, sidewalk, alleyway maintenance, trail maintenance. And then we also see a large investment underneath the capital side on an annual basis to ensure the reconstruction of our roadways, reconstruction of our utilities at grade and below grade as well. And then one large project that has kicked off and is underway currently is the new library. And so the economic impact that that will have has been a large priority over the last couple of years as we've navigated finding a development partner in that and then a new home now for the library, hopefully the end of next year, beginning of 2026. And then lastly, it ties into maintaining our solid credit rating. So about a year and a half ago, our credit rating was upgraded from a AA3 to a AA2. Many factors contributed to that, but really the strong financial situation of the city was one of those leading aspects of our upgrade. And so the budget before you incorporates those sound financial decisions that we've made over the course of the years to lead to that upgrade and uprating and maintaining those in the upcoming year as well. Next slide. The next couple of slides will focus on revenue and expenditures just as a whole. So these are revenues by category in the budget book. Kind of details out these revenues in greater detail, but tonight I just kind of wanted to provide a highlight. of some of the main drivers. So the proposed revenues underneath the 2025 budget are just over $9.6 million, an increase of $712,000 or 8% from the prior year. As you can tell, the largest source of revenue for most municipalities within the state of Wisconsin is derived from property taxes. So for New Richmond particularly, about 60% of our budget comes from those property taxes that are paid from our residents. Another large source of revenue is our intergovernmental revenue. So these are property or state aids that we receive, county aids, et cetera. In 2025, we are projecting about $140,000 increase, and that's attributable to the supplemental revenue that we received as part of Act 12 legislation that passed last year, as well as an increase in our county funding that supports the library. And then lastly, our miscellaneous revenue is projected to increase by about $92,000, and that's mainly attributable to continued strong markets and the investment income that we're earning from our cash on hand and those investment earnings. On the next slide, we have expenditures. We are proposing or presenting this evening a balanced budget, so our revenues and our expenditures are equal, so we aren't forecasting either a deficit and or surplus. So our proposed expenditures are just over $9.6 million as well, which represents about a $712,000 increase or 8% change from prior year. Some of the main drivers within the expenditures for 2025 include that continued investment in infrastructure. So we have $350,000 budgeted, which is an increase of $75,000 from last year, to assist in street maintenance to ensure the longevity of our roadways. That includes, regular crack filling, seal coating, and things of that nature. It also includes $145,000 investment in trail maintenance. As you are aware, the city currently has about 17 miles of trails, which many of these have had little to no maintenance over the years. And so as our budget discussions progressed this year, it was really important to start to ensure that we're taking the due diligence in regards to making sure that those trails can be stay in good operable condition as long as possible. We also have a $35,000 investment in alleyway construction. This would be starting to address the alleys on the west side of Knowles and starting to pave those areas. It also includes compensation adjustments that were in alignment with the compensation policy and the market refresh study that we conducted in 2024. And then a bit of decrease in regards to overall health insurance premiums, which decreased for the city by about 1.5%. Slide. Next slide shows the levy that we are proposing. It shows the adopted 2024 levy, which was just under $7.2 million. The proposed levy for 2025 would be an increase of about $298,000, so it would be a total levy of just under $7.5 million. The levy is representative of 4 components. One would be the general fund, which is pays for the day-to-day operations of our services, from general government to police to fire, public works, our library services, community development, economic development, finance, human resources, those types of things. So we have just under $5.8 million in general fund levy. Debt service are our obligations to our creditors. So debt service is paid from a variety of sources, which includes the levy. It also includes debt that's repaid through our utility rates, so incorporates our electric, water, and sewer utilities. There's debt that's also repaid through tax increment districts. And so on an annual basis, we have about $2.5 million of principal and interest, and about 1.4 of that is what is actually levied by the taxpayers, the other sources coming from either those rates and or tax increment districts. And then finally, our capital replacement levy has been consistent year over year at about $150,000. That allows us to utilize cash as opposed to debt issuance to help fund vehicle equipment and smaller turns such as computer replacements and things of that nature that are kind of shorter-lived assets that turn about every 2 or 3 years. And then the last component is the tax increment district. So we have a small levy. That levy has been going down because some of our tax increment districts are closing. Over the last 3 years, we have closed 3 tax increment districts. We've also opened 2 new ones. However, because of those closures, we are seeing that levy component for the tax increment decrease slightly. So the overall change from 2024 to 2025 would be a 4.15% increase in the proposed levy. What that looks like from an impact on the city portion of the tax bill would be a potential small decrease for residents. And that's because the proposed levy, when we look at the amount of growth that we've had from a net new construction perspective, was a positive of 4.12%. We also closed a tax increment district this year, tax increment district 6, which also provides additional tax base coming on in which that levy is spread out. So although the levy is increasing by about 4.15% on a median home value of about $350,000, the city portion would be decreasing about $37 for the year. Now again, the city is just one component of overall taxes. There are 3 other jurisdictions that assess taxes: the school district, the county, and Northwoods Technical College. The city makes up about 32% of your total tax bill. The next couple of slides really kind of focus more on the capital plan that's incorporated for 2025, and then the impact of that from an overall debt perspective. As you will recall, in 24, in preparation for the library building project, we did borrow ahead for capital improvement projects. So we borrowed for 24 and 25 projects. So the projects that are outlined in the CIP have already had debt issued to help support those projects. So in 2024, we issued about $2.6 million of city projects that will go towards street reconstruction of Billmar Avenue, Oaks Trail, and then various equipment and vehicle replacement. The second component that is anticipated in 2025 would be an issuance of debt to support the library project. Currently, we are anticipating a $10 million issuance that would be issued through the Richmond Community Development Authority as a lease revenue bond, and we would anticipate that issuance to occur in first quarter of 2025. The overall capital improvement plan for 25 does represent an investment of about $20 million. With our community, 62% of that is coming from various debt, 29% comes from our impact fees or cash on hand or other sources, and then about 9% comes from grant funding. Our overall debt position, thanks Christy, yep. So the top line is what the state allowed maximum debt is for general obligation for the city. I think on this one is the gray line. That is the city's upper limit based upon our debt management policy of where the maximum debt that we could issue, and then the blue line is the actual GO debt outstanding at the end of the year. In 2024, you'll see that blue line kind of tick up a little bit, and that's because we did borrow 2 years worth of funding, both 24 and 25 debt in advance. We still are very well below where the state's maximum is, and we're well within our debt management policy criteria as well. So I just like to show this as part of where we are ending 24 as we're approaching into 2025. And the 2025 projected debt, we would not see the CDA coming on to the general obligation debt because that is a separate issuance and will not impact the city's overall general obligation debt either. So this is just kind of more of an overview so that the council and those listening understand where we're ending debt. And that 24 does include that 25, that future issuance. That's going to cover the projects next year as well. So with that, I would certainly be happy to field any questions that the council may have. I do want to thank you for your time over the last 4 months plus, as well as staff time. These budgets don't occur overnight. It takes a lot of time, evaluation, collaboration. And so I want to thank our amazing staff and the council, as well as our board and commission members for their tremendous amount of time and input into the budgets too that are before you this evening.
Questions for Ann? Not? Does anyone else wish to speak? Does anybody else wish to speak? Does anybody else wish to speak? I declare the public hearing closed. Do we hear a motion to approve the 2025 operating budget?
I'll offer that motion.
Second. Take the roll, please. Yes.
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 Alderman Gartner.
Yes.
Alderman Volkert.
Yes.
Alderman Montello.
Yes.
Passes. Next item, new business, Urban Reserve Commission.
And I just wanted to, before we get into that item, there was one item from the consent agenda.
Oh, the
that had
6B,
been-
okay, yeah.
It's related to the council if you want to have discussion on that tonight, or if you wanted to table it, or, postpone discussion until the December meeting, but I just didn't want to forget about that.
Do you want to do that now, Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, we can do it right now, yeah.
Okay, I pulled that out of the consent agenda. I think we need to have a discussion about this item. I know I've talked to some people in the community, and there are some concerns of serving alcohol where there are young children. I know there are some other communities that perhaps do serve alcohol during these events. I'm not sure that's something that New Richmond really needs to be involved with. I understand that this is a moneymaker for the Hockey Association, and so I'm sensitive to the fact that we potentially would be taking money away from them. But I do have some concerns, and I guess at this point, the best thing that might happen is to put this, table this to, or return this to the Public Safety Committee for a discussion, unless someone else here wants to discuss it this evening. I know there's one event that's coming up, I think, before our next meeting, which is concerning also about if we don't approve this tonight, that means they potentially serve at their first term.
Are you offering a motion to table?
Yes,
I'll second that motion.
I guess we can.
and I
Yeah,
you
you
know,
wanna-
no discussion, but
No discussion.
table it to what? To our next council meeting, or table it to the Public Safety Committee?
Well, I think it should go to public safety. It'll have to come back to us, but I think it should go to public safety before the council takes an action on it.
Come back until December then. That's our next meeting. We're not having a work session
Having a
this
meeting in
month.
November.
Take the roll, please.
Alderman Vries.
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier.
Yes.
Alderman Gartner.
Yes.
Alderman Volkert.
Yes.
Alderman Montello.
Yes.
Alderman Kittle.
Yes.
Passes. Next item, Urban Reserve Commission.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. The first item under new business is the Urban Reserve Commission. We discussed this at our last work session. There was some background information about the boundary agreement with the town of Star Prairie. So there's two items we want to bring forward tonight. One is an ordinance update. That's Ordinance 617. That's just where we list all of our different boards and commissions and the makeup of each one and what their role is. So we would be adding the Urban Reserve Commission along with our other boards and committees. And then we discussed last time potentially appointing 3 individuals. I know that Mayor Zakowski and Alderman Vries had expressed interest. And then I know Mayor Zakowski spoke with Fred Horn about possibly serving as a citizen representative.
Fred said, yeah, he'd like to.
So if you were to consider action tonight, it would be on the appointments and then the ordinance 617.
Your motion.
Make that motion.
For both of them, or for just one of them?
I think it's one and the same.
You can do them together or separate, however
Okay.
you'd like. Yep.
All right.
That motion to do them all together.
Okay. Second. Any further discussion? Please take the roll.
Alderman Weinmeier,
Yes.
Alderman Gartner,
Yes.
Alderman Volkert,
Yes.
Alderman Montello,
Yes.
Alderman Kittle,
Yes.
Alderman Vries.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item is library building project donation and donor recognition policy.
So this policy is included in the agenda packet. I also have paper copies up on the dais for everyone if anyone wanted to reference those. So we already have, for the city as a whole, a donation, gift, and memorials policy that was established last year. This would additional policy is really just to complement that as it's specific to the library building project. So I just wanted to highlight a few of the main points. It's a little over a 2-page document. One is the name of the library itself, which would be the Richmond Community Library. We recognize ways or how ways that folks can give to the project. And so we named the St. Croix Valley Foundation. We already have an account established there. Folks would like to make a tax-deductible donation. While folks can certainly make a donation to the city in Richmond, we're not a 501c3. And so we just want folks to be aware of that. On the second page, we discuss the naming of individual spaces within the library, and in some cases outdoors, adjacent to the building. If a business or an individual or a nonprofit wanted to make a sizable contribution and have a particular space named after them, we note the various rooms in the first column, and the second column lists the financial contribution amount. Naming rights do not entitle a donor to any special privileges. So if I make a personal contribution to the project and a room is named after me, that doesn't mean that I get special rights and I get to use that room whenever I want or anything along those lines. The name would be for a 20-year period, recognizing that in the future there might be renovations to a particular room. And so at that time, if another individual or donor were to step forward, they could potentially rename the room. Towards the bottom of page 2, we note recognition, and that when it comes to donations, we would really be looking at donations beginning in 2024. There's been donors who've made contributions to the library project over the last 20+ years, but we really feel that for a project like this, it's difficult to go back and to say, well, in 2001, somebody gave $500 or $1,000. Really, it's recognizing from 2024 forward. We would recognize cumulative donations. So if somebody made a $5,000 contribution in 2024, and in 2025 they made another contribution. When it comes to signage in the building, we will look at that total contribution, not two smaller contributions.
You have records for people that gave $5,000 in 2008?
We would not have accurate records going back, no.
Okay.
So in some cases, you have anonymous donations. So yeah,
So there really probably wouldn't be a good way to.
you'd probably miss a lot of people going back to.
I think it's important that we recognize those people that, they thought the library was gonna be done in 2009. So they gave $1,000, or they gave $800, or they might have gave $100, which is $100 they probably didn't have.
Yeah, so we note that the signage, if you look at the very top of page 3, we would kind of have on the donor recognition wall just a general statement that the Richmond Community Library acknowledges the generosity of all donors, just to try to have an all-encompassing statement. Because there's folks have donated $50, $100. And,
that might be a lot of money for them.
How many names can you fit on a sign?
No, I'm not saying that, but I think to have a statement that acknowledges them throughout the years is good.
Well, isn't it fair to say that if somebody, let's say 5 years from now, somebody donates money to the library that's already standing there, you're going to put their name in the wall? So if we,
They meet the
if,
requirements, if they meet the requirements in there.
of course.
Yeah.
Of course. But if we know a name from 10 years ago, why wouldn't we put it on there? Because if somebody comes to us and says, hey, I gave money and they can produce the documentation that shows that they did, we just add their name.
What's the dollar amount, though?
No, according to this schedule is fine, but what I'm understanding is that there are people who have given money over the last 20 years.
A lot of people.
Right, and so all I'm saying is that we should acknowledge them by name if their donation amount that we have a record for falls under this
I
category.
agree, yeah, I don't disagree with that.
So, but that's, my understanding was you were suggesting that we would start here and go forward.
Right, recognizing that we may miss someone by
But,
doing that.
but I guess the
so.
point is that if somebody gave enough to qualify, and so we know, right, we put them on there. Okay, so then somebody comes to us 3 years from now and says, hey, how come I never got recognized? And we'd say, hey, happy to do that, because we're gonna be adding other names, probably going forward. So I would just say, give us a documentation, we'll put your name up there.
agree.
To have a policy that says you gave 10 years ago, and if we have the documentation of that, why wouldn't we recognize that?
And I agree, because now let's say this person 15 years ago gave it for a new library. If it meets the criteria of $5,000.
Right.
And up, it should be on the sign then too. I agree with that, because that was a purpose. This started for the library, like we said, about 25 years ago. A lot of people thought it'd be done 20 years ago at least, through all the studies and that. But I think if somebody did qualify there and they can show the documentation, why wouldn't they be on there? Because
I mean, it could be a grandparent, it could be an uncle, it could be somebody that,
it has to be
know.
the 5,000, what it says right here.
I'm fine with the minimum. I'm just saying that
Yep.
we've been doing this for a long time. We've been doing this for, 25 years. And there might have been somebody that gave $100 or $5,000 X amount of years ago. And I'm not just saying the Friday family. I'm saying that there was all kinds of different
Well, somebody can document
tries
it,
at
that's
this
fine.
to get this thing done. And if they've got the paperwork or the documentation to say I gave whatever it is, I think it's something we should think about anyway.
Well, again, I don't know why we wouldn't. Right. We aren't gonna know everybody.
Yeah,
But if-
that's the only concern, or.
But we're not trying to exclude anybody, just give us the stuff and we'll put your name up there, right? I mean, I guess we're going under it to the position, and maybe we don't know of any of the donations that came in over the last 20 years. I don't know, right? But if somebody could provide us documentation that shows that they cleared that floor,
Or we have it.
well, I'm just saying, if it exists.
Yeah, if we have it over
Know
there.
what it is, yep.
We may have records from 10 years ago that,
I just don't think there's a reason not to. If they gave for a new library and that money is sitting kind of wherever.
I just know
guess-
there's people that have. I don't know if the numbers add up to $5,000, but I know there's people that have given money over the past and.
Well, whatever, but I'm saying if somebody meets this is what we're doing.
Okay.
So if they can prove that they did that, we'll put your name up there. Because we're gonna be putting more names up hopefully in the
Yeah,
future.
I hope so.
5 years from now, the library's open, we would put more names up there, right? If
Me
people
too.
give. So I don't know why you'd wanna exclude anybody.
Yeah, and it will be some staff work going through, and part of it is, again, those cumulative donations. So it's gonna be, this person gave $500 in 1999, $1,000 in 2003.
Yeah,
and
what
make-
I'm saying-
making sure that we.
But what I'm saying, no, I don't think it's incumbent upon staff to look through that. We'll put the note out there. If you can provide us
Have 'em come to us.
documentation, yeah, you can provide us documentation that you did it, we will recognize you. I don't think we have to hunt and look for that and try to put it together. I'm with you there. But I'm just saying, we're not gonna exclude folks. If they can prove, and it matches our records, that they did that, let's put their name up there. But yes, I don't want staff to dig through 25 years of, or longer potential gifts. But if somebody can prove to us that they did it, we should do that.
Everybody pretty much
Was
in
that-
agreement with that?
Yeah, and that was the discussion at the library board, is how would we ever figure this out? And people know that lots of money has been given, but
Yeah.
the records are really kind of.
Well, then make it,
sketchy.
make
But
it
this
incumbent
is a-
upon them.
This is a very good compromise. I like this.
Make it
you know,
incumbent
because
upon them.
we're giving them the opportunity. Because, yeah, it was really like, they come and say, we have no idea where to look. We don't know where it is, and.
So you don't have any old records that say, in 1989, we started this drive, build,
He can answer that better, but
So again,
that's what we were
you've
told.
had
yeah.
different accounts, so they may have donated to the city, they may have donated to the Friends of the Library, they may have donated to the Richmond Area Community Foundation, the St. Croix Valley Foundation.
yeah.
Very confusing, so.
Put the note out there that if
Make it incumbent upon them to
anybody's
show us
donated
what they've
$5,000
given.
and up on this
And if it makes
project,
sense, to
notify
put it
the
up there.
city.
Could be more than 5,000, some people.
No, I'm talking $5,000 and up.
Could be an individual out there, a family out there that have given a lot more than.
No, he's just
$5,000.
saying if it meets the minimum,
I
they're
agree.
good to go.
So everybody's in agreement, so.
Yeah, the very end of the policy then just talks about the signage and shows those various levels, so. So we discussed this with the library board at their meeting last week, and then our hope was to have this in place already this fall. That way if somebody wanted to make an end-of-the-year contribution, we had a policy in place. And also, when it comes to writing grants, in some cases, a certain foundation or business may want to know, in terms of recognition, what their business or what their foundation would potentially receive in return. So our intention would be to market this, later already this month here in November, and already have this in place. We'd put some marketing materials together on our website as well as to some of the local financial advisors and lenders in the area, so that if they have end-of-year meetings with clients, doing their taxes and things like that, that they would know what those options would be and wanted to make a contribution where they could send it to.
A dollar amount for, let's say, somebody wanted to have their name on the building. Have you naming rights for the building?
So the intention with the policy would just be that the building itself is the Richmond Community Library. So we don't list the building itself as eligible for naming rights.
But it would be
if
considered.
my name's on it, you say, sorry?
That's something the council could revisit if somebody were to make a contribution like that. But the intention would just be to have naming rights for the individual rooms.
And it's probably $15 million will get your name on the building.
Yeah, but it would be considered, just so people know that. mean-
I actually have a question for you. So you talked about the naming rights of these designated spaces.
Yes.
20 years. So, okay, in 20 years' time, somebody gave $250,000, some organization, whatever, and their name comes off the name of the room. Is that what I'm understanding?
Well, it's not necessarily that after 20 years, the names would come off, but that business would know that at least for 20 years, their name is going to be on there. But it recognizes that the name isn't in perpetuity to say for the next 75 years that you can't rename the room.
Got it. I guess the way you presented that is, if in fact somebody came forward and said, hey, now I want it 20 years from now, I want large meeting room A, here's my check, we're going to replace. And anyhow, my point is, and that's,
And I kind of think of it somewhat as, Miller Park is now American Family Field, right? The name changes, they do upgrades at the stadium.
got it. I'm just saying that we should have, that donation of the original $250,000 needs to be somewhere else. Or if you're gonna, you're talking about, like the visionary leader. So
Yep.
those, okay, your name's on the room, but that also should be like, I don't know.
Yes,
what
it'd be
your-
both. Yep,
Yeah,
it'd be listed.
you're gonna have something when you walk in, it's a list of all these donors.
Yep.
It should also be there. We're good.
Yeah, so the intention would be that when you walk into the front entrance of the library, there's one central sign that lists those various sponsor levels. And then if you were a donor that had the naming rights for a particular room, outside that room, there'd be a small sign with the text saying, it's the fill in the blank room, so.
I just wanted to clear something up for Ron, in terms of him doing estate planning. So he understands what he's got.
Do you hear a motion to approve the donation and donor recognition policy?
I'll make,
Go ahead, Greg.
I'll move to approve the donation policy with the stipulation that if someone is able to confirm donations prior to 2024 that meet this criteria, that we would also list them.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? Take the roll, please.
Alderman Gartner?
Yes.
Alderman Volkert?
Yes.
Alderman Montello?
Yes.
Alderman Kittle?
Yes.
Alderman Breeze?
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier?
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item, police vehicle bids.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We received permission from the Public Safety Committee to go out for bids on a couple different types of vehicles this year, and we received those bids back. only one of the bidding agencies put in for trade-in value on our current vehicles that we would be taking out of service. And so our recommendation would be to go with the Ford Police Utility SUVs from Ewald with the extended warranty through Johnson Ford, the extended warranty, and also the maintenance package that packet.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question for Chief. I know this is in the CIP, and I know we need to replace these vehicles. I have no problem with that. Wondering why did you specifically write the request for proposals for Fords only?
We started that a few years back with this council. We're trying to get all our main duty squads set up the same. And with different types of vehicles, that's not always possible. So last year, as you recall, we tried to go out for Fords. We were unable to get Fords last year because they quit production. So the cars that we had ordered went out. So we accepted the bids on the Durangos last year, put them out on patrol, but now when we get these new cars, those will be actually put into like the school resource officer. There was a different plan in place for those Durangos after 1 year on patrol. So we're trying to get all those squads set up the same. And that's what we've done in years past, has gone out for our patrol vehicles as Fords. We still actually have more Chryslers in our fleet with detective vehicles and things like that. When we go out for bid on those, we'll go out for, all the dealerships to bid on our detective vehicles and things like that. But with the equipment that we put in our main duty squads, having them set up the same, there's some value because our people are switching cars and not driving the same car all the time. Like say the sheriff's department, they're assigned a specific, they have a take-home squad. It's theirs. It doesn't matter if it's set up differently. But that was the goal a few years ago, was try to get all our main duty squads set up as closely to the same as we can for officer safety, for ergonomics, ease of ordering, transferring equipment from one vehicle to the next. The previous administration at the police department, when they traded in a vehicle, they got rid of the whole vehicle, light bar, everything. Where we've been reusing that equipment and transferring it from one vehicle to the next becomes very, very difficult and borderline impossible when you're changing from, say, a Ford to a Durango. So in the long run, it costs more money.
How much do you think you save by moving that equipment to a like car?
Do you have an answer for that?
I don't. It's kind of hard to really estimate that because we've had to replace stuff. We had light bars for 8 years. And so we're slowly replacing those. So that's a new expense. It just kind of varies on what most of the exterior lights need to be replaced just because of the environmental impact that they have over the years. So we're replacing that, but if we're able to transfer the back transport seat, the cage, and the light bar, that probably is around $6,000 or $7,000 of a savings. It just kind of depends.
But in this situation, you're trading in a Durango for a Ford, so now you are going to have to do all of those changes.
Yes,
Is that right?
and the Durango is a 2019, so it's an older model too.
The odds of that transferring into a new Durango is pretty slim with a 5-year-old vehicle. On the 2019 Durango, the odds of that stuff transferring in, like the back seat, the partitions
Just
and all
because they're
that
different
stuff,
sizes,
just
different
because
models.
they changed the model, which has happened to us. I mean, way back when we had Crown Vics and stuff like that. I mean, they changed the model a little bit and stuff doesn't fit. So like Veronica was saying, there's some of that equipment, some of our light bars, we used to only keep light bars for 2 years. Now, like she said, we've had some that are 8 years old and they're kind of reaching end of life. So there's some of those things that need to be replaced, and that's what the extra, funds are for, is to replace aging equipment and stuff that's end of life. on
I'd like
those.
to make a motion to approve the,
I just have a, well,
let's get into,
yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2025 vehicles from Ewald and the maintenance package from Johnson Ford.
Second.
Discussion.
Yeah, just a question for city staff, either Noah or Rayanne. Is she, at this time, it's your opinion that we should go with the 2 utility vehicles and not the pickup truck?
Yeah, for kind of the reasons that I said, we're trying to get those in. The reason we did the pickup trucks is there's other agencies now that are looking at transitioning the pickup trucks. The sheriff's department went to them and they're finding that the resale value at the end is a lot higher. So we kind of put that out this year just to kind of get an idea of what the price difference was. You know, we understand that the city's got a lot of expenses coming up. The police utility SUVs have worked out pretty well for us, but really at the end of life, you know, we're not getting a ton for them on trade. You know, you saw what happened when we had the Tahoe. You know, we put that out on auction. We ended up getting $1,500 for it or whatever it was. So, you know, we're looking at down the road in the future, potentially, you know, looking at some of those other options. You know, Public Safety Committee has asked us to look at fully electric vehicles and things like that. You know, we've been in discussions with Somerset Police Department. They now have a Tesla. They have a Ford Lightning that's fully electric. So we're kind of watching what they do. You know, there's agencies in California that are putting Tesla Cybertrucks on the street to the tune of around $150,000 to $160,000 to get them set up and put out on the street. We can buy 2 squad cars for that, you know, and fully outfit them. So, you know, I don't know that the electric is there. I actually had a conversation with somebody from Bernard's on kind of that hybrid electric, and I was told, you know, the range on the electric part's only like, I think it was under 50 miles on the electric part, and then it switches over to gas. We've been evaluating this for a while on, you know, how do I take an electric vehicle to Winnebago? You know, I've got somebody that's pounding their head into the back of the cage, and I got to drive them 5 hours. And if I don't have a fully charged car, I have to stop somewhere and recharge for a while. You know, so some of those things don't
Yeah,
make sense. I don't know that we could ever go
fully.
fully electric.
No.
So, you know, I mean, we're evaluating this. We're trying to do right by the city, you know, spend our tax dollars fiscally, and stuff like that. And, you know, we really like to support our local dealerships, but at the end of the day, you know, the feedback I've gotten from the council, especially over the last couple months, is a couple $100 is a couple $100 of taxpayer dollars. So, you know, we're still supporting the local dealerships with the maintenance package. They've been great to work with over the years, no complaints. And, you know, from any of our dealerships, they've all been very good to work with. And I suspect that we'll get competitive bids when we put out the detective vehicle later, you know, in the spring, and go from there. So,
How do you think the dealerships are gonna take this one if we do purchase the vehicles from you?
what's that?
You think you'll hear any opposition from the dealerships if you take the vehicles?
Yeah, I guess I would guess that they would like us to stay local.
Yeah, I remember years ago, many years ago here in the council, but we purchased a Toyota that we had. Jim, do you remember that?
Remember a Toyota, not for a squad car, though.
No, but it's just,
Detective car maybe or something.
oh, no, it wasn't for the police
Oh, you
department.
mean for the city itself?
Yeah, for the city itself, and we took a lot of opposition in that, where we reversed our decision and went with a local dealership, and I'm just afraid that might happen here. These are big ticket items.
But this is competitive bids though, too. And now you're saying the taxpayer, so if somebody is a couple $1,000s cheaper, let's say, so that's what competitive bids are about.
That's a good point.
Yeah. I was gonna ask a question about the trucks. Now, you said that the resale value is better, but do they cost more money than the car?
They do, and we don't I mean, we're speculating the resale value, but we wouldn't obviously know that till at the end, and we never know what the.
Right. But I
what
mean,
the
does one
condition of
balance
them's
the
gonna
other
be
out?
and-
Pretty much, probably.
Possibly, yeah. I'm certainly not a expert in resale value on motor vehicles, but I know I've driven through enough lots to see that trucks
you
with
get
higher
better-
mileage usually go for more money, but, you know, that's, again, we're just trying to weigh out options for the future to try to save the city some money down the road.
These are never for pursuit vehicles that they're faster than anything else.
They are pursuit rated.
But I mean, how many pursuits do you have in the city? I mean, high speed in a year.
It's
How many?
hard to say. Sometimes it's
Doesn't
2 or
only
3 in a
happen-
month.
It doesn't only happen in the city, it goes outside in the county.
Yeah, I mean, we could have 2 or 3 in a month and we might go 6 months without one. It's
The real reason wasn't for the speed. Because you said you can outfit these from one to the next if you're, have the same progression, you know, same company.
unless like Ford changed their model completely and then we don't know what's gonna transfer if there's different things that we can do to try to make those fit. Sometimes they make wings for the partition and stuff like that, so.
The concern I have, and I've only been on the council 3 years, I didn't understand that there was a want to have them all the same that are gonna be out. Talk about, these are bid, but it looks to me like a limited bid because we're only requesting bids for. I drive 2 different cars. Doesn't take me too long to figure out which car I'm in, but I'm not a police officer. You're the expert on that. But it just seems like we perhaps would have been good to get some bids on other types of vehicles to see what the difference in price would be. That's just my.
No, after riding with the cars, and I see how many buttons and how many things they have to have their mind on in that car at any given minute, it's amazing to me. They can keep the cars going down. I mean, they just are so incredibly versatile as they're going. So I can understand very much having identical vehicles, especially since on any given day you might do another one. But I mean, it's just amazing to me how many things they're watching and keeping track of it. Just as they're talking to you, they're click, 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 you know, pushing this, turning that, and at the same time the radio's going off. So having everything the same seems quite logical.
Any other questions? We have a motion on the floor. If not, take the roll, please.
Alderman Volkert,
Yes.
Alderman Kittle,
Yes.
Alderman Breeze,
No.
Alderman Weinmeier,
Yes.
Alderman Gartner,
Yes.
and I have Alderman Montello abstaining.
Motion passes. Next item, 2025 Topographic Services.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Staff recently requested proposals from consulting firms to perform some topographic survey services for upcoming projects. One portion of the survey would include the Oaks Trail project, which we're hoping to still design and bid out with the upcoming street project that we're hoping to bid this winter. The second portion would be the survey work for the 26th Street project. This allows us to start the planning and design work early on so that we can hopefully get that project bid out next winter. We received 2 proposals for the topo services, one from Real Land Surveying for a total of $13,500, and one from MSA Professional Services for a total of $23,950. Real Land Surveying has done a lot of work in the city, mostly for developers, and we don't see any issue with them performing the work. So it would be our recommendation at this time to move forward with RLS at $13,500.
I make the motion to approve the RLS bid.
Second?
Discussion?
So you have work with them, or they've just worked in the city?
I haven't directly done work with them, but I've worked with them indirectly through developers.
Okay. No problems?
Yeah, I also know they partner with an engineering firm out of Eau Claire that's done a lot of work in town, and I haven't had any issues with them.
Nobody's brought any red flags at all?
Nope.
Okay.
Any other questions? If not, take the roll, please.
Alderman Montello?
Yes.
Alderman Kittle?
Yes.
Alderman Breeze?
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier?
Yes.
Alderman Gartner?
Yes.
Alderman Volkert?
Yes.
Passes. Next item, request for proposals 2025 construction inspection services. Eric?
Yeah, so historically, the city has done inspection of public improvements in-house. Over the last few years, with the increase in developments and with our staffing levels, we haven't been able to keep up with those. So we have utilized SEH to perform the public side of the inspections for developers, private developers that'll, the public portion that's going to be donated or given to the city, we have had SEH do the inspection services on those. Just because we want to be transparent and clear with the developers and make sure that, you know, they're getting the best dollar value, we thought that we'd possibly go out for quotes this year and get proposals from a number of consultants, and that way when a developer comes in and they get a hefty price tag for these inspection services, we can tell them, well, we went out and tried to get you the best dollar for your product. Right now, we just have a draft for you to review. I apologize, I did request some input from staff, and there's a couple of the things that I thought I had gotten into this final draft, but did not get uploaded. That's my fault. One of them was for them to provide proof of insurance and liability, and another one was like the timing of when they, so we could bring this back next month, or if you're okay with those couple changes, we could approve it tonight. You'll see the final when we come back with the actual proposals from the consultants.
This is just for proposals so that he can put that wording in there.
And so this wouldn't actually, there's no cost to the city for the inspection services. It's a pass-through to the developer. They pay all the cost to the consultant.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve with the two changes.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Take the roll, please, Michelle.
Alderman Kittle?
Yes.
Alderman Breeze?
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier?
Yes.
Alderman Gartner?
Yes.
Alderman Volkert?
Yes.
Alderman Montello?
Yes.
Passes. Next item, lead sewer line replacement funding.
Yeah, staff recently completed an inventory of every water service line in the city. This was mandated by the EPA that required us to have an inventory of every service line throughout the city. That helped us determine how many lead service lines or unknown material service lines we have in the community. Now that inventory is completed, the EPA is now going to require us to replace all of the lead service or thought to be lead service lines within the community. So we talked about this before, possibly doing a 10-year program where we replace all the service lines within the community. There's approximately a little over 100 lines that we know of. So as of now, we're looking at replacing around 10 lines per year for the next 10 years. We've discussed this a number of times at the Utility Commission, and we've talked about helping customers finance their portion of the line. So when we do these replacements, the city will be responsible for the service line from the water main in the street up to the shutoff it's usually in the yard or the driveway. The customer is responsible for their portion from the shutoff into their house to the meter. They're financially responsible for that. And we've discussed at the Utility Commission a number of ways that we could help out those customers, because it could be a significant price tag, around $3,500 for their portion of the line. And we went through some options of, do we offer some grant funding? Do we offer low interest rate loans? That sort of thing. After a couple meetings with the Utility Commission, it was their recommendation that we move forward with offering a 10-year loan to the customer for the replacement of their side. We had initially considered offering it at a 0% interest rate. However, finance has put together some numbers, and the difference between offering a 0% interest rate and a 3% interest rate of those 100 lines over 10 years is a little more than $66,000 that would hurt the proposed revenue or income to the water utility. So at that time, at the last utility commission, it was their recommendation that we did move forward with the 10-year financing loan, but we go with that. A lot of information, so if anyone has any questions,
Where did the 3% come from? Why did you go to 3%, not higher?
We could, it was just kind of, I think that's about what we borrow at right now, is around that 3%.
Well, it was kind of a combination of, we really need to get these lead lines fixed. It is a big ticket item for them. 6% pretty healthy interest rate. Didn't want to go with 0% because that's not fair to everybody else that had their lines done and paid for. So trying to get somewhere in the middle of 0 and 6%, we decided at 3% was the right. If they want to do it that way. Now, if somebody wants to write the check out for the amount, we wanted to give some help to our customers, but we didn't feel like it was fair to the other customers to be losing money to replace their lead lines.
So do we provide the backhoes and stuff to do this, or do we sub this out to another local contractor that actually does the work?
Yeah, so right now, the way the policy is written is that the city would replace their side only, and then it would be the customer's responsibility to hire a plumber to replace their portion from the shut-off into the house. We could consider tweaking that somewhat. There might be some cost savings if the city hired a contractor to do all of them and did the customer side, which then they would have to pay back. There's some people that hesitate doing private work on private property with a contractor that was hired by a public entity just because we're now kind of taking on that liability. So there may be some extra hoops we want to jump through if we want to go that direction. But right now, the policy is written that they would hire their own contractor or plumber. We could look at having the contractor that we hire do the whole work.
We looked at two different ways. One is that we're going to hire somebody to do our portion. We'd certainly recommend to the homeowner they hire the same person because that's going to save, it's going to save them money.
Yeah.
But we can't force them to choose the contractor we did. They have that choice. Certainly encourage it, but they're going to save some money by doing that.
So if we go with the 3%, let's say just 3%, how much is the utility going to lose on this end, or the city? I mean, because they're not going to bear the whole cost end the way it sounds. Customer. Or is it going to work out okay? I mean,
Well, so
you're in finance, is 3% with the right number?
there's a lot of variables that kind of go into that to address that question. I think it's the aspect if the utility is in favor of offering a loan program, which this proposal also still needs to go before the PSC for them to approve it. So we have to file an application with them to update our tariff. They may recommend a different number, but what we have historically seen is that the PSC is favorable of an interest rate that is a little bit more, I guess, for lack of better words, subsidized a little bit more than what a market rate would be to encourage the replacement of the lead service lines that are needed. The aspect from the utility is the loss of that use of cash, correct? So right now we're in a market rate environment where that cash on hand, we can invest it higher than the return of a 3% that we would be loaning out. Certainly things ebb and flow. We've been in market rates a few years ago where the market was about a 1.5% interest, so a 3% would actually be earning money. So it really depends upon the market. If you would look at something more closely to what city does on that side is about 6% when we do sidewalk assessments and things of that nature. So, we put 3% in here given the nature and the of needing these to be replaced in a certain period of time by the DNR. So it's something that I think is going, is providing a little bit of that subsidy. Is it exactly the right number? It ebbs and flows based upon the market.
They aren't borrowing money to do this. They just use the money that they have in their account to pay.
So
Is that
how
it
we
works?
have budgeted this is that we use cash on hand
Yep.
to finance this program. Also within the policy is saying that the utility needs to make available those funds each year. So even though right now we're projecting out 10 service lines per year over the course of the next 10 years, if the utility's in a position where they want to look at the funding, allowable funding in that year differently, maybe more than, that or even less than, depending upon some, various pressures, the utility would have the option to do that. This isn't saying that the utility needs to make available those funds. It will make available if it's part of the budget.
This can change on a yearly basis then?
Correct.
And this is mandated, it has, all have to be done within 10 years?
Yes, yep, yeah, that's EPA, so it's a federal bulk, yep.
So is there any, that you know of, is there any programs that offer assistance to any of these people that really can't afford to do this?
So
Or is
there-
it a mandate that we have
yeah,
to say,
there-
you have to do it or we're taking your house?
Yeah, I think there's some, privately, I think there's some programs they can apply for. The citywide, we qualified when they first broke the LSL program
Yep.
replacement through the DNR. We were able to take advantage and replace a few lines.
But now that's
we-
money's gone.
We no longer qualify. They changed how that funding mechanism works,
Okay?
and so we no longer qualify for that.
As a
Um,
city?
As a city,
Okay.
citywide. But yeah, we'll continue to look for grants and.
Yeah,
other-
I'd just like for us to keep looking into that, and maybe the EPA has a certain, program that, that people can qualify for that gets some assistance on this. Because it can be quite expensive.
Any other questions? Had a motion on that, Michelle? I think we
No,
did.
that was all just discussion.
I'd move to,
Motion now.
I'd move to approve the lead service line replacement with a 3% cost over the 10-year life.
Second.
Want to take the roll, please?
Alderman Breeze,
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier,
Yes.
Alderman Gartner.
Yes.
Alderman Volkert,
Yes.
Alderman Montello,
Yes.
Alderman Kittle.
Yes.
Passes. Next item, tourism funding requests, applications from the city of New Richmond.
The Tourism Committee reviews applications on a quarterly basis. In most cases, the expenses have been incurred already and applicants are seeking reimbursement. As we approach the end of the calendar year, we wanted to just get some direction from council as to some potential projects that the city would be the applicant for. Historically, we've sought reimbursement for some utility expenses related to the sports center and Hatfield Park. Included in the memo is a list of some potential projects. And really, as staff, we just wanted some direction from you if ultimately the tourism committee would be reviewing all of these and determining whether or not they should be funded. So certainly if you wanted to say just send them all to the committee and let them go through them, we can do that. But just like we get authorization from the council, in most cases when we apply for a grant, we thought it's appropriate in this case if the city is the actual applicant, it shouldn't just be staff deciding we want to apply for this but don't apply for that. And so there's a few items listed in the packet. One is the picnic shelter at the Whispering Hills Disc Golf Course, the design assistance for the downtown streetscape planning, the water fountain installed at Mary Park, the paving of the access to the Hatfield Park fishing pier and the canoe and kayak landing, and then staff time associated with the administration of the tourism committee marketing efforts. So we can certainly apply for any or all of these, but just wanted some direction from the council because the applicant would be the city of New Richmond.
Being on the tourism committee, some comments on this. I'm not opposed to them applying to the tourism committee, but I think the tourism committee's new goals are really into the marketing aspect for the city. look at these lists of picnic shelters, Mary Park water fountain, paving access to Hatfield, those are all park kind of additions or amenities. I think if those were applied to the tourism committee, discussion, decide what's appropriate, what kind of money we have, and then bring that back to the city.
So is everybody fine going to the tourism committee and see which ones they want to vet out?
Shelter at Whispering Hills Disc Golf Course has been built?
It has been, yep, it's completed, yep. Yeah, so the shelter is completed. The downtown streetscape, that would just be the design, the technical assistance from SCH, not the actual lights or amenities. The water fountain was installed this fall. The paving was completed earlier this summer. And then staff time is also tracked, of course, so.
So what's the balance in the
Send your best
tourism?
salesman to the tourism committee.
What's the balance in the tourism committee? Or in the tourism dollars?
I don't have it.
150?
That's about the annual revenue that is taken in.
Yeah.
And so about 70% of that then,
We've committed, what, 25 to the marketing study?
they've also reviewed first and second quarter applications. So they'll be having a meeting on Thursday to review third quarter applications. Typically, heavier funding requests come in third and fourth quarter for the tourism committee.
So that the third quarter, it raised about 75,000. Then the city gets 30% of that.
So just on an annual basis, the room tax revenues generated anywhere between about $130,000 to about $145,000. And so 70% of that, which I think in budget is about $90,000, is what we, kind of earmark or allocate will be tourism allocations based upon the revenue amount. I don't have the exact amount of where we're
Wasn't
at
it
with
about
room taxes.
175,000 last year?
Pardon?
About 175,000 last year?
No, I don't recall offhand, but I don't know if we were that high last year.
Anyways, that's.
Maybe we can grab
getting
those
the numbers
numbers,
for
but-
the third quarter on Thursday. But I think you put it in somewhere here. Stuff we had today, I was reading through it, it was somewhere that was like 75,000 for the third quarter.
Maybe in the carry forward funds from the last meeting.
It says third quarter revenue, I thought it said. But anyways, it'll be on Thursday, you'll be
Yeah,
discussing.
I just want to be clear on what, tourism dollars should not just go for marketing. It should go for things in the past that we've considered as tourism and getting people into town. And that's what it was always intended to use for, and we've gone a little bit different direction, which is fine.
I'll forward the state statute too for council to review. It really is clearly towards marketing. I have that handy, actually. I'll forward that on.
Basically, what drives people to the hotels, because the hotels are collecting this, and that's how this got started in the first place, to have more stays at the hotels. So they're the ones driving this whole thing, and
Well, Jim, I think it's, I don't know how much discussion you want to have on this, but I think it's even beyond that. I think tourism can be looked at even through economic development. It isn't just driving people to hotels. Yes, that brings more money into the tourism spending. But the idea is to market New Richmond, a great place to live. While we the state statutes want us to market New Richmond, it isn't just softball leagues or baseball leagues, but bringing people to New Richmond that maybe wouldn't have an opportunity to come to Richmond to see what we're all about.
I agree, because that's gonna put people in the rooms, and that was how this started originally. So
yep.
you market, and hopefully they'll drive more visits to Richmond and going to the hotels. Trickle down. Waterfall. So anyways, do I hear a motion?
Do you need a motion?
No formal
motion?
motion is needed, but if the council would like us to proceed with these and just let the tourism committee discuss at their meeting, we can certainly proceed. But really just wanted some direction and just transparency as part of that too, just so you know.
And those come back to the council for approval anyway, correct?
Yep, it'll go to the
so-
tourism committee, and then it's usually the following month is on the
Come back.
council agenda.
All right.
Okay, for information only. And people agree. Okay, any communication or miscellaneous? Nothing. Thanks for doing a great job on the election. I think it was a long day, and I think it was handled really well, and it sounded like it went really well. And with the new location coming in the back door, I think that made a huge difference too. Thank you. Your motion go into closed session.
Can we take a little break first?
For
I'll make the
state
motion to go into
statute
closed session.
19.851C.
I'll make the motion to go into closed session.
Okay,
Second it.
take the roll, please.
Alderman Gartner,
Yes?
Alderman Volkert, Alderman Montello,
Yes.
Alderman Kittle,
Yes.
Alderman Breeze,
Yes.
Alderman Weinmeier.
Yes.
Motion passes. We're in closed session. Somebody want to take a 5-minute break?